Welcome to the Borne to Chat Shit podcast with your hosts, and weighing in at a whopping 170 pounds in the blue corner, George Osborne, and over to my left, the wellness queen, the knowledge, the brains, the sexy Dr. Victoria Kowalska.
Oh, sorry, I'm crying.
That was a strange entrance. Vicky wasn't expecting that. Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Hope everyone is well. It's lovely blue skies here today, and we went to the sauna, funny enough, and we was debating I was debating, it's like 28 degrees outside, I'm going to the sauna. Does that make sense? I might as well just sit outside. However, the sauna is a lot hotter than outside, and I'd much rather sit in a sauna than sit outside sometimes. So yeah, that was good. That was fantastic. Enjoyed that. Just got back, had some cream of rice. Lovely. Vicky had some yogurt, rest day calories and that sort of stuff. Anyway, we're back. Today we're talking about and recording an episode about body dysmorphia. Okay, every bodybuilder has this. Every person, to be honest with you, has this. So we're going to go through what that is, and also we're going to help you guys with some things and tips and a bit of advice as to how you can handle this, not only in an off-season setting, a prep, just in general day-to-day sort of life, to help build some confidence. And so it's like, as I always say, if you want to share this to a friend, or if you enjoy this sort of stuff, then be sure to share it on the old Instagram, whatever, ratings, all that sort of good stuff, as you can see. So without further ado, that's not even the right term to say.
Further ado.
Without further ado, we'll roll with that. Let's get into it. So Vicky, body dysmorphia. Do you suffer from body dysmorphia?
I would say so, yeah. Okay. I would say so. I think I've always suffered from body dysmorphia because my body dysmorphia stems from when I was younger, and I was a gymnast. And actually, funnily enough, I was speaking to Emily from the gym about this. It's so crazy because there are so many things that I've stopped myself from doing in life because I was body dysmorphic. And I think anyone that's listening to this, and we'll touch upon what body dysmorphia is in a second, but anyone that listens to this, I am sure that you've had a moment in your life where your perception of yourself has stopped you from doing something. For me, my body dysmorphia stopped me from learning how to do a double backflip. I remember I was like, and this is crazy, I was like 11, and I needed a spot. I needed my coach to spot me to do a double backflip, because ultimately I needed to do the first one, they needed to assist me with the second one and then land it. And I was like, I can't do this because I'm too fat and they won't be able to lift me. Bear in mind, I must have been like 35 kilos at most, at that age. I was tiny as well, I was a tiny kid, but I just didn't do it because I just thought I was too fat. So yeah, I would 100% say I've suffered from body dysmorphia. It's definitely improved. I would definitely say it's better. I still have it, but I manage it much better because I know it's not my reality. It's a perceived reality of what I create in my head. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what about you?
Actually give me throwbacks to some people may recognise on the channel when I was younger. It'd be like 30 degrees in the gym, I'd still wear a jumper. I would not wear a t-shirt. On a night out, I used to, at uni, people would call me the Alessi boy because I used to have a Alessi jacket. Alessi's a brand, by the way, if you didn't know. And I always used to wear the same jacket on the night out because it made me look extra big in it.
Interesting.
And I would never take that off. I'll be in the middle of the nightclub and I have a jacket zipped up right to the top because I thought I looked jacked in it. Even to the point, when I was younger, I used to put, if the top wasn't tight enough and it made my arms look small, I used to do this. For anyone that's watching, I used to do this. I used to pin it over like that. I'd put a pin through there and it would hug my arm. Interesting. To make my arm, and I would do that with my ankles as well to make my calves look bigger. So if my jeans were baggy at the bottom, and it had almost like flared, I would wrap it up, roll it round, and I would put a pin through it to make it sit on the ankle so it would give me bigger calves. It's tapped shit when you think about it.
And so many people do it. This is why people edit, I know a lot of people get stick for editing there, and I don't agree with it myself. I think if you edit your photos, again, it's just false perception of reality. I would never sort of do it, but I know so many people do it because they feel so self-conscious within themselves, and it's just like a pressure that they apply to themselves. So yeah, body dysmorphia is very much a real thing, and I think nowadays and age it's becoming even more apparent. And if you are within the bodybuilding realm, probably also you do struggle with it. Now, I used to struggle with thinking I'm too big. Now I struggle with thinking I'm too small, which is quite ironic, isn't it? Because for females, typically, generically, you always are pressured to be smaller. I know there are some women out there that do struggle with gaining weight, and there have been so many females that I've known that are self-conscious because they're quote unquote too skinny. Well, that's how they refer to themselves. So body dysmorphia, let's actually touch upon it because we're talking about it, and we've not actually said the definition, so we've got notes on here actually to make sure that we don't go off on a tangent. I'm trying to stick to them, but knowing us, we'll just deviate and
40
digress.
minutes of just chat and waffle, not getting the point across. That's just typical us, isn't it, to be honest?
So body dysmorphia, it's you basically become preoccupied with how you look and the flaws that you have within your body. So they are perceived flaws. Again, every single flaw that you see within yourself is an opinion and it isn't a fact. So this flaw can be that your boobs aren't big enough, your boobs are too big, that you're too fat, that you're too small, that you're too actually too muscular maybe. Because I used to have this, I used to hate my quote unquote thunder thighs. So I used to hate my quads, too muscular. You know, my upper has always been quite jacked, I remember even in gymnastics. So too muscular. Too, again, small as in muscle wise. And actually in bodybuilding, when we were doing like even more research into this podcast, it's called bigorexia.
Bigorexia, wow.
So where you never feel big or muscular enough.
Yeah, I feel like I've got that. Mm-hmm. Because funny enough, and now I'm going off here in one now. If I went back to where I started and saw myself and what I look like right now, I'd probably think, fucking hell, that's amazing, that's so impressive. But I look at myself right now, I think not big enough.
Yeah,
Mental.
Or even when I find, for example, when I first started bodybuilding, I remember, and I'm sure many girls can relate to this, you look at certain individuals, you're like, they look awesome, but I don't want to get that big. Like, I don't want to be that muscular. And now I've surpassed these girls. I remember I used to look at like Chrissy Chella, Megan Grubb, Karis, Busy Bee, like all of these girls. They used to be influencers. And I'm like, wow, I'd love to look at them like them someday, but they're a little bit too much. I've surpassed that in terms of musculature now, and I don't feel big enough. And I think the question that we'll go on to is like, why does body dysmorphia happen? And there's many reasons that I'm going to personally touch upon, and I know George has his own reasons why, but I think when you actually have body dysmorphia, it usually stems from something, right? It doesn't just happen out of the blue. I think the first thing to state, and I will always vouch for this, is it's usually engraved based off a past, what's the word I'm looking for?
Trauma?
Yeah, not trauma, but like what your parents passed on to you as normal. Like, I grew up in an Eastern European household. My family's Eastern European. What's normal and what's perceived to be a beautiful woman is someone that's really small, that's got, you know, big boobs, flawless skin, well looked after, you know, but particularly that they're meant to be as skinny as possible. That's what was the trend back then. So the preconceptions that you had as a child, that you're taught of what's right, what's liked, what's good, that's what starts to become your norm. And anything outside of that, you tend to feel like it is wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's usually down to your past and what you were told to be true.
Yeah. For me, I'm trying to think about what my parents used to say to me were true. Oh.
It's not necessarily your parents, but what you surrounded yourself by. So like, for example, you were talking to me about in football, you were the tallest at some point. Yeah. And you were watching, what was it? Not MMA. What did you used to
WWE?
watch? Yeah.
WWE, yeah.
And you used to look at guys, and that's like, wow, okay, the strongest one and the most muscular one is the alpha male.
WWE is a big one, to be honest with you. If anyone's a WWE fan back in the day, Brock Lesnar, Batista, these guys are like 6 foot plus, 320 pounds, all on steroids. I was like, wow, like this is what a man is meant to be. And they'll throw each other around the rings. Yeah, love it. You know, that was me. And I realized as I started growing up, I obviously hit puberty at a very young age, and I was 5'5" at the age of like 12, 13. And obviously when I got to like 17, 18, I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually not going to be like these guys. Yeah. I'm the complete opposite. And I was like, fuck, what do I do about this? So I was like, okay, I'll grow wider then rather than taller. Well, that didn't go to plan, did it, really well?
So it's that deeper root of your upbringing. I think that's a big one. And then I think it evolves now to social media, because social media wasn't like the biggest thing when I was younger, but magazines were. So like, you know, Vogue, and I remember Victoria's Secret was really big when I was in like year 7, and they opened like up a Victoria's Secret shop, and all of these girls were really tall and slim and had like big boobs, and that's what was deemed as normal. So, you know, social media is a big one. I think genuinely social media is the biggest driver and influence of body dysmorphia nowadays, because I feel like everyone is such a copy and paste. Like, we don't actually embrace just varying beauty standards anymore. We don't. Like, I feel like there's such, for women anyway, I'll speak for myself, I personally feel a pressure to look a particular way. For example, everyone's getting Botox right now, everyone's getting filler right now, everyone's looking like a rap. And I don't want this to come across bad, because I'm not against it. I've had lip filler done before, but it's just sort of like, it's a pressure to look a particular way. Did you get what I'm trying to say?
I mean, what brings to in my mind is Love Island. We're watching Love Island right now. Everyone's Botox the fuck. All the guys are in good shape. They've got great tans. They've got great skin. All the girls have had lots of work done to them at some point. It's the norm. It's like
the pressure to be perfect.
Yeah, you wouldn't put someone who's overweight, ugly into Love Island, would you? Straight away, you just wouldn't do that, would you? No, exactly. It wouldn't. And that's what is deemed, you know, there should be, like, for example, Love Island, it should be just with normal people. Just normal people. Any shape or size, any structure, just shove them in there. But
not that they're not normal people, but just like just a variety of people that just look different shapes and different sizes and different looks and different, like they're putting in different ethnicities. But even beforehand, it wasn't different ethnicities in there. No, there wasn't. I remember that, and I just think like there's such a pressure to be perfect. People edit their pictures, people pose for pictures, people will delete pictures where they don't like pose the best way, they don't appear the best way. And I think it's quite sad, because we are on this highlight reel all the time, viewing, comparing, and most importantly reinforcing to our brain what is liked and what isn't. Because you will look at certain girls and certain guys on social media that look great, that will have an X amount of likes, and then you might post something and get 2 likes, 50 likes, however many likes that you deem as low. You're like, I'm not good enough because I'm not getting this.
Yeah. And bodybuilding as well, like bodybuilding is self-criticism. It's looking at your physique, it's looking in the mirror all the time. It's picking apart your physique and looking at areas that you need to improve, you know. Bodybuilding, despite it being great for you actually working on yourself and actually improving all those sort of things, it can be also very, very toxic. I've been through phases where I would look at myself and like, I need to improve upon that. And I'm just like, I'm at fucking home and I'm chilling and I'm sitting here picking apart my physique. Like,
yeah,
you know?
I think this is actually something that I really wanted to say in this podcast. So if you're going to get one thing away from it, listen to this. If you have body dysmorphia right now and you're thinking about competing, or you're thinking about getting into bodybuilding because you feel like you're going to make yourself feel better, don't. Literally don't do it, because I can guarantee you right now, the moment that you enter this sport, you're going to pick yourself up, or you're going to pick yourself apart way more than what you would have done before, because you're going into a competitive sport that is purely judged based off how you look. And I'm not saying that if you have body dysmorphia you can't do it, but if you do have body dysmorphia and you're going into this, you need to put even more emphasis on the mindset shifts that we're going to talk about in a short while. You need to put more effort into addressing your trauma. You need to put more effort into bloody falling in love with yourself, being fucking obsessed with yourself in the best way possible, because it is a very like huge slippery slope. And when I have consults with individuals that are thinking about competing, I ask them these questions. I probe them, like, are you doing it to get validation? Like, are you doing it because you hate the way that you look like right now? Bodybuilding should be done because you love yourself, not to love yourself. And I think that's the most important part about it, because when you get into the sport, you are going to compare, because that's the nature of it, and you are going to constantly feel like you can perform better, you can look better, you're quote unquote not good enough. Why? Because there's always room for improvement. Even if you're a top pro, even if you're an Olympian, there's always more that you can give.
And I actually thought about my post that I wrote the other day about this year's 10 years of me bodybuilding now, and the one thing that I said is that you'll never ever be satisfied.
No, you won't.
You never ever will be. So when you get into this game, unfortunately, I'm 10 years deep and I've built a physique that, you know, is good. It is good, let's be honest. I'm still not happy. I'm going to get 15, 20 years deep into it, and guess what? still not going to be happy. So it is a very, I don't know what the right word is. It's a very slippery.
I want to stop you there.
Why?
Because you can change that. So don't say to yourself, in 20 years' time, I'm still not going to be happy. Be like, actually, I am just going to be really proud. You can be proud and not satisfied. That's two different things. You can want to strive for more, but you can be happy within yourself.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I say what I just said there in terms of like, I'm never going to be happy. Don't get me wrong. I am very happy and I am content with what I've built, and it's way better than what it was many years ago now. It's just the desire to always want more, you know. It's like, okay, if I get to this level of muscle mass, I'm going to be content with it. But no, I'm like, okay, I want the next step, the next step, the next step. So I should reframe what I just said there, because
please do.
I'm sitting here going, you should do this, you should do that. But I have worked on this myself 5 years ago or so. God,
when
no.
I met you, you were terrible. I was like, this guy needs some sense knocking into.
I need some help.
He needs some help.
Because
Vicks to the rescue.
I am in a mess. I used to go on Instagram and structure the fuck out of my, you know, the structure one where it gives you more like detail. People know I'm on about on Instagram when you edit it. There's a thing called structure, and you can add more structure to your photos to make it look more defining. I used to hammer that so badly, but now I just upload it. I don't really mind, unless the lighting's really, really bad. I might adjust it a little bit, but yeah, so bad. So yeah, back to what I was saying. I am happy. Like, I look at myself and go, you know what, I actually look really good. Like, I looked at myself when we was in the sauna and I went, you know what, decent, bruv. I actually look like I'm fucking lifter finally, you know, I look decent. But I'm like, okay, cool, next step. And that's just me, because I'm that sort of person. I always want more and I always keep chasing more. But I am, just to make everyone aware, I'm happy. I can wear, like, for example, I'm wearing a t-shirt now. 5 years ago, never. I'll be in this weather. Even in front of you, I'm just fucking wrapped up in a jumper. No one's ever seeing me or anything like that. Like, even like shirts that are open like this. Oh my God. No, upper chest is way too small. Wear something like that. Mental, innit?
Yeah. It's interesting because I always used to look at you. I remember when we first started dating, I was like, this guy is so confident.
Yeah, he's a twat. It's fake.
Yeah,
it's fake shit though.
interesting.
Fake shit.
Because you're not like that anymore. I feel like you're so open and transparent, and you share your vulnerabilities. And I think that's why this podcast is so important to me, because people, like, we want you guys to listen to this and just feel like you're speaking to mates and be able to, we're not preachers. Like, we're not preaching. Yes, okay, we're coaches, we educate, but we're also humans that have our own struggles, and we learn. All that we're doing is teaching what we've learned and what's worked well for us to help you guys. So yeah, it's nice for you to have this vulnerability and be open and honest about things, and actually look back and think, I was a fake fuck like a couple of years ago, whereas this is me now. Because, you know, there are going to be people in the position that we were in a couple of years ago where they are lost at the moment, and they aren't portraying themselves.
And trust me, if you keep living in that sort of way like I was 5 years ago, you'll be miserable for the rest of your life. You'll be absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
So you better start learning to love yourself, because most of the shit that you see, you ain't ever going to be able to change. So love yourself for who you are, regardless of what it is. You know, I used to despise my height at the age of 19, 20 at uni. Everyone was taller than me. I was the shortest person in the group, hated it. But now, doesn't even cross my mind. But I've done a lot of fucking work to start loving myself, because that's something I can't change unless I go down the operation route, which I see people do nowadays to make themselves taller, which is mad. I'm not that bothered about it. I've said, I'm not that deep. It's not that deep. This is who I am. That's how it is. Start loving yourself what it is. And now I'm very open and honest and can talk about these things. But before, I used to hide it and act like a little bit of a dickhead towards those sort of things.
Funny enough, when I said I got my lips done before, I remember I used to be very insecure about my lips when I was like younger, again, like 18, 19. Like, these are my natural lips now, so I don't have any filler in them. But I used to be like, oh my God, they're absolutely terrible. And I said to myself one thing, like, I won't make any change if I am self-conscious. And I know that seems really weird to some people, but I will only make change if I feel fully comfortable with myself and confident within myself. So after I came out of therapy, worked on myself, I was like, yeah, but I'm the shit. And I was like, actually, do you know what? I want to get my lips done just because I want to get it done. It won't make me feel better in terms of like add value to myself, but I just want to get them done. I want to see what it looks like. And then I got them done. But when I go through stages where I don't feel confident, like right now, I went through a little bit of a stage where my confidence went quite low, didn't it? Just out of nowhere. Again, I think it's more of a hormonal thing than anything. Body dysmorphia in a diet, maybe. No, I don't know, maybe. But I I've been wanting to get my boobs done every single day. I've been talking about it, but I know I won't get that done up until I feel like, yeah, I'm sound, like I don't need boobs, but I want them, sort of thing, rather than I need to have them to make myself feel better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties in with bodybuilding as well, and people going down the steroid usage aspect of things. People make decisions, I'm not big enough, so I'm just going to jump on steroids. You know, I'd never ever suggest anyone making any sort of decision like that when they are in that sort of a headspace, because, you know, that's going down an extreme route, which unfortunately for someone that suffers with body dysmorphia and decides to go on steroids, probably going to make it 10 times worse, probably going to use and abuse steroids. That's why we see countless amount of people.
Temporary plaster for a long-term issue. So, yeah.
It's like putting a fucking plaster on, I don't know, what's the saying? There must be a saying. It's like, I don't even know. It's like, we'll forget about that, because that was absolutely bullshit. But yeah, if you're even with steroids, I see it time and time again. I've coached people in the same sort of realm. I see it in the gym. You know, it's not good, and it'll end up very, very badly for you. So please, if you are debating to go on steroids because you don't like the way that you look, do not make any decisions when you're in that sort of mindset, because it will, you just will honestly just shoot yourself in the foot many times by doing that. That's for sure. So do you want to dive into, what do you want to dive into?
Yeah, now how to deal with it, because we've been talking about the fact that we need to deal with it before we make any decisions, and it's not the best thing. I think first of all, accepting that body dysmorphia is going to be there and we're not going to feel amazing in ourselves all the time. I think acceptance of this is going to be the first step, just because sometimes when I had a bad body image day, I thought that that's the end of the world. I genuinely thought like, oh, well, everyone's preaching self-love, therefore I don't love myself, therefore I'm shit. No, actually, do you know what? You are going to have days where you don't feel 100% yourself. Like, girls, you can relate to this. Different phases in your menstrual cycle, you're going to retain water. You're not going to feel sexy. Hormonally wise, water retention wise. You know, guys, you are the same. You have certain days where you might not have the best training session. You don't feel 100%. But it's so important within that time just to not to act upon anything. Like, if you are noticing that you are picking yourself apart, stop, pause, and just do something different. Be like, involve yourself in gratitude. Tell yourself 3 things you love about yourself. Tell yourself 3 things that you love about your life, and just step away from the self-criticism and just remind yourself this too shall pass, because it's not going to be a forever thing that you feel shit within yourself. Because tomorrow you can wake up with a God complex, and I know I do. Like, yesterday, looked at myself, oh my God, I'm terrible. Today I'm just like, I am the shit. I walked into the sauna, I was like, yeah, come on, girl.
Yeah.
You know, so first is remember you're not going to feel 100% all the time. Second thing, stop comparing. Stop comparison. Delete people off social media that make you compare. Mute them, hide them, whatever. It doesn't mean you don't like them. It doesn't mean they're shit people, but just eliminate them to protect your peace. Stop comparing. And I know it's so much easier said than done, because I sit there very often, but when you notice yourself do that, just take a moment and understand that that's going to give you jack shit in terms of productivity. You can't judge your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 31. And even if you're on chapter 31 and someone's on chapter 2 and theoretically they're looking better, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. I can guarantee you the people that you compare yourself to are sat there, be like, rinsing themselves. I remember I had a message once, and I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent. You can talk.
Carry on.
I had a message once. This was like during a really bad patch in my life, of a girl being like, hi, just want to let you know that you look absolutely incredible and I aspire for a physique like yours. And I'm thinking, huh? Like, I've just been crying all day because I look shit. Like, what do you mean? Like, but it's so important to remember, like, people, I find it crazy that people say they look up to me, because sometimes I'm sitting there like, I'm not there yet. Like, what do you mean? But it's important to understand that you can't compare. Like, a lily is beautiful, a rose is beautiful. They look completely different, but they're just as stunning.
Yeah, it's important to recognize and remember that Instagram, people only post the good stuff. Very rarely do people post the bad stuff. And this is why, if anyone watches my YouTube videos, in my physique updates, I'll always show you how I look relaxed, because often or not, I think it's very important to remember, we don't walk around flexing our muscles 24/7. I'm not sitting here right now and going, oh, fucking hell, you know, look at this, like, come on, you know. I'm not. My arm just looks normal. Look, my arm just literally looks normal, okay? So it doesn't actually, to be honest. It looks quite good there. But on a real note, it's important to remember that we post some of the best photos. People edit their photos. There's some crazy shit you can do nowadays when it comes to editing photos. People only post their favorite poses. Like, trust me, why does no one ever see a rear double bicep on my page, or very rarely see some of my weaker shots? Because I don't like it. I don't want people showing. Why do people see most muscular at the moment? Because I like it. Why do people see a side chest? Because I like it, you know? So it's important to remember, we don't, you know, you don't post the shit times or the bad things or your worst physique shot.
It's a highlight reel.
It's a highlight reel, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into that. So like Vicky said, you know, actually be aware of this. And if you find yourself just following these people that you obviously are inspired, it's fine to follow people that you are inspired by, but if you then start noticing you're having a unhealthy relationship with these type of people that you follow, like even Vicky said, just unfollow or mute their stuff so they don't see it, and give yourself peace of mind. Because as soon as you go down that rabbit hole, you're long gone, and you're digging yourself out of a dig hole.
I think even if it's people that you look up to, but you find yourself feeling shit after watching like looking at their posts, don't do it. Like, I remember, I said this before in a previous podcast, every couple of weeks I will go through an unfollow spree, and that is me being literally cutthroat, not because it's anything against the people or I don't like them, but because if it's not adding to my happiness or if it's causing me stress, the price is not worth it. So I won't really even follow like big pro wellness girls, because very often, not that again, like I sit there and I think, oh, I'm not good enough. But what happens for me is it raises my standards of what I should look like. And if I don't look like that, I feel like I'm not doing good enough. So it creates like my normal or my standard. And I don't want that. It just needs to be me versus me. And follow accounts that actually make you feel good. Like, this is why I started posting on YouTube again, because I know I'm a very like perfectly imperfect person. I am not, you know, I'm not like a Madison Sarah on YouTube. I'm not these girls that like, I just look at and I'm like, how does even God create something like this? Because you're stunning. And I'm not saying I'm ugly, but what I'm trying to say is, like, right now I am sat here with greasy hair from the sauna because I don't give a fuck, but this is normal. Like, I do have hairy legs. Don't know if you can see this in the camera.
And dirty socks.
And dirty socks. There you go. Someone's going to screenshot that.
And I have a receding hairline. Look at that. Long gone.
But
and wrinkles.
It's not saying like, oh, look at me, like I'm posting like this. But the reason why I'm saying it is because there are moments where I don't look 100%, but they are normal, because this is my normal life. And you don't see normal life on Instagram, because I can guarantee you people aren't going to post their dirt. Well, actually, some people might post. People do have foot fetishes. Anyway, people won't usually share, you know, if they've got a hairy leg or if they've got cellulite showing, or, you know, if George has a bit of bum hair and is like checking shots, you know, people don't show it. So follow people that make you feel good, make you feel normal, whatever that may be.
And it goes back to the you versus you, like Vicky said. Compare yourself to your previous. So what I sometimes tell clients is like, oh, I'm going up in scale weight, I'm not really liking the way that I look at the moment. But compare yourself at the same body weight before when you was coming down, or compare it a couple of years ago. I promise you, you're way ahead of game. It's like, if anyone who's on assistance right now, I'm on TRT right now, you know, there's a little bit of a difference between what I look like on cycle versus off cycle, but I compare what I'm looking like right now at this TRT compared to the last TRT, completely different, way further ahead than what I was before. And that you versus you, okay, I'm already beating the previous version of me, and that's kind of what I want you guys to focus on a little bit more, rather than, oh, I'm not like this person, or I used to look like this, or whatever, you know. Focus on the present time and focus on the compare. And most of the time you are going to look better, unless you've done something completely fucking off the charts, which is giving you a reason not to, you know what I mean? So that is, I think that's what, point number 2, was it? Or was that correlate between point number 1?
I don't even know anymore.
God knows. Point number 1, point number 2. Yeah, just point. Next point is actually self-reflection and actually working on yourself when it comes to, like you said, you said this like in the first point as well, is with every like negative you say, give yourself 2 or 3 positives that you like about yourself. That's a really good way of training your mind to actually
focus on the good,
focus on the good, focus on the
It's like the manifestation that again we spoke about in the previous podcast. But when you focus on the bad, when you tell yourself bad things all the time, you're going to notice bad things. Whereas when you focus on the good, even if it's forced initially, you're going to start focusing on the good things more often.
And is it actually proven that
it's scientifically proven.
That if you talk to yourself that in a negative way, you're more likely to have negative things
100%.
happen? Yeah, 100%.
It's the law of manifestation. You know, when we were talking about it when I was like, oh, there's no red cars on the road anymore. Yeah. And then we was like, red car. And it's not because suddenly there's more red cars, it's just because we were noticing it. So, you know, when you preach gratitude, when you preach good things about yourself, you're going to notice it more often. You know, when I, for example, get in moods with you, especially on my ovulatory phase, sorry, George, and you know, I'm like,
about it all week.
I'm just a girl. And I start noticing things that you do, and everything just winds me up because I focus on so much negative. But when I actually take a step back and I'm like, wow, George did prep my oats this morning and he allowed me to have a little bit of a lay-in, you know. Wow, George did get me flowers. I'm not going to say anything nicer to you because you're going to get your head put stupid.
Than what it is.
Exactly. So just focus on good things. And the next point that I have is find a fucking identity outside of the gym. I'm so sorry to break it to you, honey, but the gym is not the only thing in your life. It may feel like it is right now, especially if you're falling in love with it, but there's so much more outside of your life that you need to nurture other than just your body. Your body is a home. It's a fucking one long vessel. It's one long tube of the digestive system. It's literally allowing you to live right now. Yes, look after it, train, become better. I'm not saying, like, I don't believe in like body positivity in terms of you just scoff everything under the planet and tell yourself I'm positive about my body and I love my body, because if you're not nourishing it the way that you need to, it's not self-love, in my opinion.
I agree.
But what I am trying to say is finding things outside for your body to do allows you to actually see what your body's like worth doing. I'm not making any sense right now, but find things outside of bodybuilding to, so what's the word?
So so for me, a example that I like to use, and I'll give it to you guys as well, is that I actually don't watch much bodybuilding outside of the gym. Like around the workout window, I don't, like in the morning first thing, I don't watch anything really bodybuilding anymore. I watch Formula One, I watch Carwell, I watch UFC. I actually watch other things that I quite enjoy doing. We're watching Love Island in the evenings. We watch this Perfect Match on Netflix series, this reality stuff. So I don't watch much bodybuilding stuff. I don't really keep up, as much as I do love bodybuilding, and I'm very much up to date with a lot of what's going on, and I never will change that. I do not, I'm not someone who's like, right, okay, I need to watch bodybuilding 24/7. I need to watch this, need to watch that. I actually don't. Like, I actually find myself going in a hole when I start doing that too often sometimes, and it gets a little bit boring. So actually, try and actually watch different things outside, like even when we're watching YouTube, do something a little bit different like that. Does actually really help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Try different things as well that's not just involving like physique development. So maybe, I don't know, go rock climbing or something.
Read. Further education, learn a different language. Cough, cough, George, need to fucking do that. I haven't done that yet. But learn a different language or something like that.
Yeah,
those are great ways.
Occupy your mind, because there is going to come a time where you won't be able to train as intensely as you do anymore, and your body will start to change because you do age. What happens then, right? So understand that this body is going to fade with time, and therefore you can't put your whole emphasis on it.
I think another one is very obvious. Talk. Like, actually talk to people, even if you need professional help. Like, it is out there for this sort of stuff. You go on the NHS website, there is body dysmorphia on there. You can get help for that if you are seriously struggling with it. But sometimes actually talking, whether it's with your partner, your mum and dad, friends, sometimes just talking actually does help. It does let a lot of weight off your shoulders sometimes. So don't be afraid to talk about it. You can drop us a message on Instagram about it if you find this quite useful and you feel, what, I'm going through the same sort of thing. Sometimes that just helps, and it sometimes feels, despite it kind of like, in a way, I don't wish it upon anyone, but sometimes when I know people are suffering as well, it makes me feel better because I know that I'm not the only one. Does that make sense?
It makes you feel more united, and I feel like it allows you to again, normalize your feelings.
Yes.
I guess that's it.
That's the more like, sorry about that. We had a battery. It literally was on like 5-6%. I was like, okay, you know, we can still go. Just literally dies on us. Brilliant. So we've got another battery here. So I'll pick up.
Into it like
sorry,
that,
I'll pick up where we left off. I don't know why I did that. So yeah, as I was saying, like talk to someone. Okay, talk to friends. Be open. Be transparent. And you know, sometimes that helps. And like we said, it sometimes makes you feel a little bit better that there's a community or people that go through the same thing as you to normalize your feelings and your emotions.
But, a big but, don't be reliant on those people to make you feel better.
Yes.
Because this used to be me. Like when I felt shit within myself, or when I had moments of just not being comfortable within my body, I would use my previous relationships to create validations for myself, and I would want like reassurance from other people, but that's only temporary as well. You need to be feeling good within yourself. So when George says talk, it doesn't mean like, babe, I'm feeling really shit today, tell me I am beautiful. You know, of course, like tell me nice things, but at the same time, don't rely on that to help with your body dysmorphia, because it won't.
Absolutely, I agree. And the final one for me is journal. Get the old journal out. You know, we do this every single morning, guys. A little check-in with yourself, because some of these things you can actually acknowledge before it actually happens. So sometimes if you find yourself going down that hill slightly, you know, you go, you know what, you can kind of catch on to that quite early to then prevent something that could be a lot worse in a matter of days, hours time. So that little check-in, whether you do it in the morning first thing, we've done a whole podcast on journaling. Obviously go back and listen to that if you're interested. Do that, just a little check-in. It can be 5 minutes of your day just to see how you are, how you're feeling, and just daily reminders of little things that you can be grateful for in your life that actually may counteract obviously how you are feeling with your emotions and your thoughts and feelings.
Nice. And then the last thing that I will probably say is, this will be a deep one, but when you actually
get ready for it.
Yeah, get ready for it, because my thoughts sometimes go wild. When you actually think about it, we are a tiny dot floating on a huge rock in a huge bloody universe that even we don't know about. When you actually think of how obsessed we become about our body and how minute that is in the whole like circle of life, we actually take a step back and realize, what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time over something that doesn't really truly matter in the grand scheme of things. I always say that to myself. Like when I rinse my body, when I have moments and I look at myself and think, what the hell am I doing? Like I just realize I'm a little ant floating on a rock. Does anyone actually give a fuck whether I've got a bit of cellulite, whether I've got scars, whether I'm too small, whether my right quad is smaller than my left quad, whether my glutes aren't protruding as much? No, like no one actually cares. And when you, however you decide to actually speak to yourself about your body dysmorphia and the actual importance of what your body looks like, I think that becomes a real game changer for me.
If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please, of course, make sure you drop a like. If you're interested in wanting to see more of these type of podcasts, then of course let us know. If you're on Spotify, then please give us a 5-star rating, or just rate it. You might give us a 4-star depending on what you like or what you don't like. And of course, all our social media, coaching applications, sponsors will all be down below. So you're interested in any of that, then of course hop into the description and go over there. Really hope you've enjoyed it. And of course, guys, we'll see you in the next one.